As you described it, right, saying things like, he was bitten as a puppy, it's led to aggression problems, he's had incidents over the years. The 9 years that you had him. That also means you've had numerous opportunities and just an excessive amount of time to bring in specialists to help out, to get other opinions other than kill the fucking dog. Right? I mean, just based off of what you're putting out on the internet, it looks like you have the money to do so. You've had the opportunity and time. And actually, I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna stop before I say something I regret. Also, numerous people have spoken on this. I think one of the best videos on it is from Lord DIY. She actually has the same breed of dog, and I feel like she does a great job of kind of poking holes through any of the BS excuses of why it was okay that it got to this point. But yeah, I'll link down below. That's the story, some of my personal takeaway. And now I, of course, pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts on this? Then, in entertainment news, we should definitely talk about whatever the hell that Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather press conference was. We had a lot of people saying, it was okay, the two were standing off, they had kind of threw barbs at one another. And then Jake Paul did something that sold the hell out of the fight, but not the fight that's happening. Because he and Floyd Mayweather, they start mouthing off to one another, and then Jake Paul randomly pulls out the middle school move of taking his hat, which in 0.3 seconds was followed by him getting swarmed by bodyguards. It looks like maybe some punches were thrown. You had Mayweather saying, I'm gonna kill that guy. And while everyone had opinions on if that was the biggest D-bag move or the funniest thing in the world, most people were like, I don't even care about the Logan Paul fight. I just want to see Mayweather and Jake fight. And here's the thing. I know a lot of people said, I think this might have been faked for press. My reaction to that is, no, I really don't think so. I think the only thing that Floyd Mayweather cares more about than money is his reputation. But yeah, I guess congratulations to Jake Paul. I think you've all but guaranteed that Mayweather will kill you. It's just a question of if it's going to happen in the ring or not. Also, in other news, but kind of a connected story, we have updates around that lawsuit that Triller filed against numerous defendants for illegally streaming the Jake Paul-Ben Askren fight. Right, we talked about that reported $100 million lawsuit. You had YouTubers like H3 Productions listed as a defendant, though you had Ethan Klein denying that he ever broadcasted the fight, that he just watched an already available link. But now we actually have updates to this because Emily Baker, who's a lawyer and legal commentator, she posted a very long and in-depth video on the situation. There, she actually found that on May 6th, the court issued an order essentially saying that Triller did not provide enough evidence or facts in their lawsuit to be suing all these defendants jointly, with them also notably saying that Triller has not proven the harm they are suffering and seemingly insulting the fight while doing so, saying,
plaintiff does not, however, explain what irreparable harm it continues to suffer from the availability of copies of a live sporting event that occurred weeks ago. The SAS, the outcome of which is publicly available and lasted less than 2 minutes. The court thinks that the fight sucked.
With it then essentially saying that the court can drop without prejudice the majority of the defendants, and is doing so for all defendants except one, filmdaily.com, meaning that H3 is no longer part of the lawsuit. However, important note here, Triller could refile everything as individual lawsuits later on. But from that, let's take a second to pay some bills and thank the fantastic sponsor of today's show, Keeps. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time that they're 35. Everyone's got that someone in their life, right? That brother, uncle, or friend dealing with hair loss. And if you don't want to go down that road, you don't have to just wait and sit idly by, because Keeps helps you stop hair loss before it's too late with their scientific and affordable approach to treatments that are up to 90% effective at reducing and stopping further hair loss. And Keeps actually offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products that are out there, so some of you may have actually already tried them before, but probably never at this price. Which, actually, on that note, for a limited time, you beautiful bastards can get 50% off your order, all without having to go in person to your doctor's office to get a prescription, because with Keeps, they deliver the products directly to your home. It is that easy. So if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/DeFranco, or just click that link in the description down below to receive 50% off your first order. Then, in a different kind of NFT news, because for the most part, 95% of it is really famous person sells an NFT, makes a bunch of money news. And instead, what we have today is a group of high school and college students kind of, I don't know if exploit is the right word, but taking advantage of the fact that really anyone can mint an NFT, even if they don't own the thing that is being minted. So what we're seeing here is that this group of students has taken some of the most controversial tweets from Donald Trump and turned them into NFTs in an attempt to gain one last win over the former president. And so they have this website, drumpf.io, reading Trump tweets for sale, 100% profits to charities he hates, environmentally friendly. And while some of the money earned from all this is going to go to kind of a general fund where they'll figure out what charity to go to, some of the others, depending on the tweet itself, are tweet-specific charities. If the tweet is seen as anti-Asian, it could go to the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund and the Asian Pacific Fund, as well as some of the other charities being the Clinton Foundation, the American Civil Liberties Union, and Doctors Without Borders. With Jackie Nee, the chief meme officer of SMG, which are the the students behind this project, known as Strategic Meme Group, telling us over the weekend.
Because we don't want people to forget about the things Trump did or the things he said. And we typically have like pretty short memories when it comes to like politicians and people. So what we wanted to do is just make sure that people remember, like, this man is really flawed. This man is actually really hateful. If you look at his past tweets, you know, like, these are not presidential. These are not like human, honestly. As an AAPI person myself, and also our founders, Jason Yu and Theodore Horn, we're all AAPI. And so, you know, Trump's tweets have had a negative impact on us. And so we were just thinking, you know, like, is there a way to get something good out of this? Is there a way that we can potentially benefit the community he harmed? And, you know, try to make something good out of something that's really, really bad.
And ultimately, that's where we are. It'll be interesting to see where all of this ends up. Right now, they've raised already over $11,000, which, hey, isn't bad considering they only launched the NFT site a couple weeks ago. Then let's talk Doge, Elon Musk, and SNL. We knew that space meme billionaire on SNL was going to be good ratings, but we didn't know what those numbers were going to look like. But I mean, we knew it was going to be big. For one, it was the first episode of the show to be live streamed globally on YouTube. I mean, hell, just his monologue alone on YouTube racked up more than 5.5 million views, which is massive on its own, but especially when you compare it to just over a month ago, you had Carey Mulligan's monologue only getting 815,000 views. You know, while the episode saw a big bump, it was actually not the biggest episode of the season, poorly being beaten out by the Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock episodes. And while, you know, everyone has opinions on what was funny, what wasn't funny, blah, 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 I'm not gonna comment on that. We did see this episode trend and make headlines for two other reasons. One, Elon Musk announced,
I'm actually making history tonight as the first person with Asperger's to host SNL. Or at least the first to admit it.
Which, well, you had some people saying that was inspiring. You had others noting that Dan Aykroyd, who once starred on SNL and has gone on to host the show, has also been very public about his Asperger's. And then, of course, the second reason was the cryptocurrency Dogecoin. Where if you looked on social media, there was so much hype about Elon on SNL. What's he gonna do with Dogecoin? Is he just gonna joke about it? Is he gonna tell everyone to buy it? Is Elon launching his own crypto? With a lot of people who, of course, say, I'm not a financial advisor because they don't want to get sued, saying, I think this is gonna go to $1.50 tonight. But instead, what we ended up seeing was a massive sell-off during the show, falling nearly 30%. With some even going on to blame Elon Musk for what he did on the show during a bit on Weekend Update. But essentially, the whole bit is them saying, but what is Dogecoin? And then he'd say something else, okay, but what is Dogecoin? Until he says,
I keep telling you, it's a cryptocurrency you can trade for conventional money.
Oh, so it's a hustle.
Yeah, it's a hustle.
So there you had people saying, look, he's saying it right there. It's not a real thing. This is a hustle. It's a pyramid scheme. It's a house of cards, insert whatever. But on the other hand, you had people saying, it's just a skit. It's just a joke. And while the debate's happening there, we saw Musk yesterday, and we don't know if it was pre-planned or it's kind of reactionary to all the backlash. We saw Musk announce that his company SpaceX is literally going to be sending Dogecoin to the moon, saying on Twitter that the company plans to launch a lunar satellite named Doge-1 next year that will be paid for in Dogecoin. Then, in U.S. politics news, we'll start with the Biden administration announcing this morning that it's reinstating anti-discrimination healthcare protections for transgender Americans. Notably, this move reverses a decision by the Trump administration last June that redefined sex to mean gender assigned at birth, and that policy effectively excluded trans people from sex discrimination protections outlined under the Affordable Care Act, which outlaws bias on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, age, or disability. Right. Under the Obama administration, the term sex was interpreted to include trans people who suffer from the medically recognized condition known as gender dysphoria, but the Trump administration's change made it easier for doctors, insurance companies, and other providers to deny coverage for trans people. So now that the Department of Health and Human Services under Biden has reverted to the Obama definition, providers and organizations that receive federal funding will be banned from discriminating based on someone's gender identity or sexual orientation. Also, according to reports, the HHS Office for Civil Rights can now investigate complaints of sex discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity again. And on top of that, medical providers can now face sanctions for violations of the law. Then, let's definitely talk about this situation with ransomware hackers. Right, a lot of the time when you hear ransomware, you're like, oh, my computer, or, grandma's giving me a call, she's confused. Ransomware has become a very, very big problem for very large companies, as well as the government, whether it be a local or on a national level. And the most recent example of that is on Friday, the country's largest fuel pipeline shut down after it suffered a cybersecurity attack from ransomware hackers. Though it was unclear at that time if the hackers had directly crippled the line or if the company that owns the line, Colonial Pipeline, had voluntarily taken it offline. However, the next day you had Colonial announcing that they took their system offline themselves, saying that it was done as a precautionary measure out of fear that the hackers had gained enough information to attack vulnerable parts of the pipeline. And this has continued throughout the weekend. As of this morning, most of the pipeline is still shut down. This is extremely concerning news, right? It supplies 45% of the East Coast fuel. Are you talking about 2.5 million barrels of refined gas, diesel, and jet fuel every single day, with an energy analyst telling Politico this is the most significant successful attack on energy infrastructure we know of in the United States, with one Wells Fargo analyst outlining